Talk Radio. We're here with you every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. The Love Bay family, we're rising out of the ashes together. Our topic on this evening is She Is You. We have with us our co-host, Bob Wood, Title IX coordinator of Gwinnett Mercy University. And our guest on this evening is Shakina Rush. She is the founder and executive director of She Is You, Inc. Listeners, if you have any questions or comments for our guests or co-hosts, you can email us at sufferinginsilencedv@gmail.com. If you have any resources that you would like to share with us on a national or local level from your country, your community, your local organizations, or your faith community, you can also email us at sufferinginsilencedv@gmail.com. And with that, Bob, would you greet our listeners on this evening?
Yeah, good evening. As always, it's an honor and a privilege to be here, and I thank you for having me. My name's Bob Wood, and excuse me, as Reverend Tia said, I am the Title IX coordinator for Gwinnett Mercy University in my 13th year of doing Title IX work, which, as Tia knows, and I've explained to people, the new statute does involve VAWA, the Violence Against Women Act. So we deal a lot with the topics we're going to be discussing this evening.
Mm-hmm.
Pleasure to be here, and it's nice to meet you too, ma'am.
Nice to meet you as well.
And with that, Shakina, if you introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers on tonight.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Minister Tia, for inviting me and having me. And thank you as well, Robert. I am very excited and delighted to talk about such a serious and sensitive topic. Again, my name is Shakina Rush. I am the founder and executive director of She Is You, Inc., which is a nonprofit organization that provides services to victims and, well, I like to call them overcomers, but provides services and resources to overcomers who have experienced domestic violence, sex abuse, and sexual, but not only to the overcomers, but to um, their families as well, and the forgotten victims, like their children.
Thank you so
So,
much. Yes, go ahead.
oh yeah, I'm sorry. Well, I just wanted to add, I am I'm a philanthropist and I'm also a serial entrepreneur. I'm the owner of Kingdom Builders and Industrial Maintenance and Kingdom Flaggers LLC.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Listeners, as usual, we want to start with sharing some resources. And first, we have the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Their website is thehotline.org. Their phone number is 1-800-799-7233. We have the Polaris Project National Human Trafficking Hotline. Their number is 1-888-373-7888. Or you can text the words Be Free, BEFREE. You can text the words Be Free to the number 233-733. And their website is polarisproject.org. And Polaris is POLARIS. And then we have the Befrienders Volunteer Action to Prevent Suicide. To find a helpline by country, you can go to their website, which is befrienders.org. And with that, we move into our topic on tonight, which is She Is You. So just at the very top, Shakina, I would ask if you would please tell our listeners not only more of who you are, but how She Is You came to be.
Well, wow, you guys got time? Well, She Is You. She Is You came to be. I think I was the age of mm, 36. I think I was 36, 37. And I was I was kind of just like healing from a long-term domestic violent relationship. I was in this relationship for about 10 years. It was with someone that I knew, that I grew up with, that I trusted, that I looked at as family and so forth, someone that I was very comfortable and familiar with. Um, but like I stated earlier, She Is You is not just about domestic violence, because domestic violence is oftentimes a symptom of other issues. Um, so, I was also a victim of sex abuse. So I was, sexually abused by my father from the time I was, just a few months old up until, I don't know, I was about 9 or 10 years old. And my mom found the story in my diary. And from that point on, I think it kind of like groomed me to be subjected to relationships that were not healthy, that were
Mhm.
toxic, that display a false sense of love. My idea of love was completely distorted. I associated love with pain. You know,
Mhm.
if it was not violent, or if it was not something that made me feel, uh, I guess uncomfortable in a sense, something that excited me, like in a dangerous way, you
Mhm.
know, it just is not real. If it didn't, make you afraid, then it wasn't worth it. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, it kind of happened like when I was in the abusive relationship, um, and it wasn't my first abusive relationship. It was actually my last. But the abuse started when I was about 13, when I first experienced domestic violence. And I was dating someone that was a few years older than me, that was a few years that was a little more mature than me. And believe it or not, a lot of my peers and a lot of my friends were experiencing the same issue. So it was more so like a social norm, you know, um,
Mhm.
something that was accepted, not only from my peers, but even the older people that I looked up to, older cousins or older, um, people in the community. They seem to have dealt with it and experienced it and lived through it and survived it, and they appear to be happy, and everything was, da-da-dee, da-da-day. It was just a part of what you went through when you was in love with somebody, or when somebody loved you so much. Like, that was their reaction. That's how they act when they really love you and when they really care about you. If they don't act like that, they don't love you and they don't care about you. And just to speed the story up a little bit, um, I took some time. Um, I took a few years after I made it out of the relationship that I was in for about 10 years. And during that time, I learned a lot about myself. I began to take accountability. Not that I began to blame myself, but I began to look deeper into myself.
Mhm.
I began to look at, okay, you can't necessarily control the actions of another person, but you can control the actions of yourself. And I began to come to the realization that, what was it about me, myself, that enjoyed it? Why did I feel like this was love? Like, why did this make me feel warm? Why did this make me feel comfortable? Because, believe it or not, like, I liked it. I liked it. If it didn't result in a fight, if it didn't end with me being choked or punched or whatever, it was not gratifying. So I began to learn what the definition of a masochistic was. Um, and I began to see, you know, all of all of the details, like they kind of lined up with my personality or some of the characteristics that I was exhibiting at the time. And, and I was just like, how does one become a masochistic? When I looked at myself in the mirror, I didn't feel like I was an ugly person. I didn't, feel like I had a look if you ask me, I was just confident, as I wanted to, I went to school, I got my education, I was doing my courses, I maintained employment. Um, I was not on any drugs, alcohol, substance. To me, I was normal. I was a regular person. But the more I began to learn, I was not a regular person. Because if you feel the need to have someone destroy you physically or tear you down emotionally, mentally, if you feel like you need that to feel love, then it's something. And it takes two people. I learned that it takes two people to be in this type of relationship. It has to be reciprocated. And because a person that is displaying or exhibiting those types of behaviors, like physically or verbally abusing someone, they need a conduit to receive it. And if you have I don't know, any type of voice or emphasis inside of you, you're going to be the perfect model. But if you are a person that really has the self-esteem and the confidence that you might portray, they're not going to stick around. They're not going to, they're not going to stick around. Like if they don't sense the vulnerability in you, if they don't sense the need to be loved in you or the need to be accepted, they're not going to stick around because it's something in them that's allowing them to I'm trying to think of the word. It's something in them that's allowing them to. It's like an instinct. They have an instinct. People who are physically abusive or verbally abusive, they have an instinct that tells them that they can do this to this person, and this person will allow it and accept it. It's like a bully,
Yeah.
predator. And certain circumstances and instances in your life can set you up to be prey. And we need to be educated and made more aware of what this is called that creates an individual into the sense of becoming prey. Like I said, I was sexually abused as a child. I didn't know how vulnerable that made me. I didn't get the help that I needed at the time because, my family was in denial and it was don't whatever goes on in this house stays in this house. And,
Yes.
and you don't want to see your loved one get in trouble or get incarcerated and all of that type stuff, or you don't want to be taken away from your home. I didn't want daddy to get in trouble. You know what I mean? I didn't get in trouble. I knew if I got daddy in trouble, I was going to get in trouble. And that's what I carried with me. So that was one of the things that made me vulnerable. And also being blamed. It's it's something you did. You're too fresh, you're too grown. You made him do this. So it was the alienation, being ostracized. And, I'm not going to say that, my parents didn't love me, but I think they love me to the point where they could only love me. From the point where they could only love me. We learn how to love from people that love us. And the first point, our grandparents, or our aunties and uncles and stuff like that. We learn what love is from them. They set the first example. And if that example is not healthy, like, we're not really going to know the difference.
Yeah, you keep building on that.
Yeah.
I think you've said a lot. One is that people can only give what they can give. And sometimes what we call love is not love, it's abuse. But that is what was learned, that's what was taught, that's what was accepted, and that's what is repeated. And so people can only give what they know how to give. And sometimes they're giving hurt. And we know that in most cases, those who abuse, they were abused or hurt themselves in some kind of way. And we know that, when you're dealing with abusers, it's the power and control issue with abusers. And then when we're dealing with victims or survivors or those going through it, it's dealing with low self-esteem, it's dealing with validation, it's dealing with wanting to be loved. And then when you're in an atmosphere of when love is coming at you in a way that is warped and hurtful, but that's all it's like any attention is good attention. And so it's like, he's yelling at me because he loves me. If he's not saying anything, he doesn't love me. But if that's what you learned and that's what you grew up in, that's what we deal with. And so there are women, men who believe if my partner isn't hollering at me, if they're not throwing something at me across the room, then they don't love me, and so I think as you talk about education, that's part of what we need. We need to learn what true love is. We need to learn what abuse is, because like I myself grew up, it was normalized. It was normal to see the couples around you in your family, in the neighborhood, everybody fight, break up, get back together. That was the pattern. That's how it happened. Blood could be drawn, and a couple hours later, everything was fine. And we, as children, you don't know any better. Like, so you absolutely believe this is how it's supposed to be because that's what you're in. That's what we grew up in. And it's hard as you become an adult. And I think that's where you have to be honest with yourself. And then when you start to look at yourself, and you just want something different within you, because I believe at some point we'll get to a point and we'll realize something is wrong. Something isn't right. I don't feel right. I might look right. I might look good. I might sound good, but I don't feel right. Something in me is not right. And then you have to be honest with yourself. You got to, even if everybody else is still in that abnormal pattern of accepting, the abuse, you got to be honest with yourself and dig in and reach out to want more. And I think that is really a huge fight that we have on our hands today, because again, like I tell everybody, I'm on next month, I'll be 47 years old. It took me to get into my adulthood to first of all see everything that I grew up in, it was wrong. Now I want something different. And now I have to, myself, it's taken me years to work on, my thinking and my feeling and my emotions. And I had to work through my own abusive marriage and all of that. But it takes a lot. We grew up in that. We're trying to work on it. So, and it's not just us. It's, those, in our age group, those who are older than us, those who gave it to us, and we're trying to undo it now. And then our children who are coming up. And our children have so much more to deal with than we did, but it's just a lot,
One thing, we say it so much that to the point it becomes so cliche that everything starts in the home. Everything literally starts in the home, because I know, people say, well, you have to discipline your children, spare the rod, spoil the child, or whatever.
Yeah.
But in that point, when you discipline your child and you discipline them like in a, you know, physically, or you might raise your voice or whatever, or you might display a disgruntled attitude or something like that, you are teaching them abusive behaviors are acceptable. Like, you are desensitizing them for when they do get in relationships or when they do interact with people, that is how things are supposed to go. You know, I mean, my father, you know, I never seen my father hit my mother, whatever, but he manipulated
Mhm.
her. He, you know, he was about 25 years older than her. And you know, he kind of took advantage, I believe, of her, you know, being young and, you know, not having a strong family support system. And, you know, he just kind of just completely had his way. You know what I mean? Like, he may not have directly physically abused her, but he abused her children.
Mhm.
You know, by playing mental games, by causing division, you know, and that's you know, a lot of people um, don't realize how big manipulation is is a very strong abuse tactic.
Absolutely. Mhm.
Manipulation, you don't even have to really touch a person. If you know you have the power to easily manipulate them, that's all you need. That is all you need. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? You have them at your full advantage if you can manipulate them. But it really needs to be incorporated into our education system. It's really a public health threat, a public health concern, and I think um, it's one of the biggest ingredients to gun violence. Um, and you know, a lot of these young people that are, you know, committing murders or, you know, participating in gun violence, they've witnessed domestic violence within their homes,
Mhm.
and it caused, you know, trauma, and you know, it triggered, you know, for them to be angry and for them to react in a way that's aggressive, and you know, and they're looking for an outlet.
Mhm.
You know, it's not just about gangs. It's not just about like neighborhoods. It all starts within the home. And if you see your mother being physically abused and there's nothing that you can do, and now you have access to a weapon, and you know, you go outside and you get into an altercation with someone, and you know, like all you see is your mother being abused, and you couldn't do anything to Mr. Mike, but you can shoot Jamal now. You know what I mean? Um, and it's just it really needs to we really need to get to the core.
Yes.
Domestic violence is at the core of gun violence. It's
Oh,
Robert, go ahead.
Yes.
yes. As you know, Reverend Tia, before I went into education, I was a police officer. In fact, if you were sitting closely, you could see the scar across my nose from trying to stop a domestic violence incident and keeping somebody from getting hurt. But what you are saying is absolutely true, and I think outside of people like us and people like the advocacy groups, we need to push at our legislators.
Mhm.
We need to push at our courts. He sort of knows this. I unfortunately just worked with a victim who did everything right,
Mhm.
and before it came to court, everything had been bargained away to the lowest charge. and they brought it back to me, and I kind of got involved, and I'm sure I irritated some politicians, but that's okay. I don't care. And I said, I know why deals are made. I know how deals are made. You just got a win statistic, and you did no work. You took the easiest road out, and my student's not a statistic.
Yes.
That's a person, and she has a family. And granted, it's not, as attorneys like to say, it's not a slam dunk. I've heard that term more than once. And you have to prepare, and you have to go in. And the people that come and bring things forward, that is a responsibility that is owed to them. I mean, when I was police, I took an oath to protect and serve. If you're on the other end of that, and you're the prosecutor or whatever, you took an oath. See it through. Don't look for the easiest avenue out. I've seen that so many times, and it's, you know, it's personally very, very frustrating to me. My Irish can go south quick. But if I can, what you were commenting before on the other ones, it's very true. Much like you, I grew up in a house where there was way too much violence, alcohol, etc. And I know from being, things are much different, but I know from being a young person in my time frame, the 60s, yes, I'm that old, sorry. Anyone in that is in that youth category, they're going to seek a place that's safe. And if it's not the house, it's outside. And my family was outside of my home. And as you say, I mean, things were different, but yeah, there were, you know, there were moments I look back and yeah, my wonderfully, gloriously misspent youth. But that is so true, that the home is where
Everything
it begins.
Yes.
It begins. Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, and if the children aren't comfortable there, they're going to go elsewhere.
Yes.
Yep.
So,
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, well, you can finish your statement, and then I just wanted you to tell us about, you know, give us your website, your information for She Is You, but if you could tell us about the resources, the activities, what She Is You provides.
Sure. So right now, what we do, we provide like workshops. We do a lot of awareness. So every year we're not going to have it this year, but since the organization has been founded, every year we would have a youth domestic violence and sex abuse awareness march, where we would invite other organizations and agencies, you know, to set up and provide information, you know, to programs and stuff that they have to offer. And you know, we allow other overcomers that may have experienced domestic violence or family members that have experienced domestic violence to, you know, voice their opinions and concerns. So we'll march from Ben Franklin Parkway to City Hall, you know, where we will publicly display, you know, the effects of domestic violence and sex abuse, like, you know, really bringing it to the forefront, putting it in the community face. Like, this is what's going on. This is what's happening. This is who is being affected. We cannot hide this. We cannot run from this, and we cannot be ashamed of it. So we do a lot of things that you know, try to eliminate the shame around domestic violence and sex abuse and sexual assault. So that's one of the things that we offer. We also offer, well, every year we kind of do like a toy drive, where we collect and donate toys to children who have lost their parents to domestic violence or who have been affected by sex abuse or sexual assault. And we're also looking to start a campaign where we're going to offer scholarships to individuals who have been affected by domestic violence, children and you know, the victim, if they've been affected by domestic violence, sex abuse, or sexual assault. So we're going to be starting that campaign right before the fall. We're offering scholarships and stipends to families and victims.
Okay.
Yeah, so we offer a lot of resources and services, and you can learn more by visiting our website, which is www.sheisyou.org. You can also follow us on Instagram, She Is You Inc. And as She Is the letter U Inc. Or on Facebook. We also provide self-esteem workshops where we offer self-defense training and classes. So we try to serve and bring whatever resources that will help our participants to overcome, live, heal and live a more successful life. So we're also looking to provide relationships, intimate partner, violence counseling, because I remember when I was in my relationship, I loved the person to what I didn't love this to be, and I really wanted us to do better. I really wanted to see us, live have a healthy relationship together. And I remember thinking, like, where could we go? Who could we talk to? So we can stop, you know, um, finding ourselves in this cycle where we're hurting each other, where you're hurting me, and almost to the point where you could have killed me, but then God, I'm still here and alive, and I survived. But, there are people out there who may not survive. And all it takes is just one hit, one,
Yes.
and your life could be over. And don't let it be a weapon in it. So one of our biggest programs that we can offer is intimate partner and relationship intervention. The cops go to the house, and everybody stops fighting and everything is calmed down. But it's no real violence because nobody's been pressing charges, nobody necessarily wants to go to jail. Let's come up with another alternative. Let's try to offer mental health and emotional support. To the point, let's get them healthy. A lot of people don't understand how it's really a psychological issue,
Yes.
you know, and it needs to be treated. So, so again, you can learn more by visiting our website, www.sheenzy.org. We're on YouTube, we're on Twitter as well. And just look it
Mhm.
up. Yeah,
And listeners, She Is You is located in the United States in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So you can access the website as Shakina shared. Um, I am thankful of when I look at your website, when I see what you do, and when I hear you speak, I think of the young women, the teenagers,
yeah,
that you're able to reach out to and able to help. Prevention is awesome. It really is. But
yeah,
we really have to do what you're doing, which is actually have services available,
mm-hmm,
unfortunately, for our teenagers.
mm-hmm,
Because we have 14 and 15, 16, 17-year-old girls and boys dealing with
yeah,
domestic violence relationships.
mm-hmm,
And even today as adults, there are some adults who do not know and understand that they are in abusive relationships. And it's just a million times worse when we're dealing with our teenagers for them to be in that situation. And so I'm thankful for what you do to specifically reach out to not only adult women, but
mm-hmm.
our younger teenagers. Love Bay, we want to welcome you again to Suffering in Silence with Minister Tia on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We're here with you every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. We have a replay on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern, and then again on Thursdays and Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern. And Love Babe, we want to remind you that we are all rising out of the ashes together. I want to share a few more resources, and then Bob, I'll go to you for a question or a comment for Shakina. In Australia, we have the National Family Violence Counseling Service. Their website is www.1800respect.org.au. Their phone number is 1-800-737-732. We have the Canadian Women's Foundation. Their website is canadianwomen.org. Their phone number is 1-866-293-4483. And then we have IDAS, which is located in England. It's a specialist charity in Yorkshire supporting people affected by domestic abuse and sexual violence. Their website is idas.org.uk. Their phone number is 03-000-110-110. And Love Bay, I also want to share with you, if you are able to attend, Shakina is actually going to be speaking at an event that I am doing this Sunday at the Philadelphia Marriott Hotel on City Line Avenue, 3 p.m. Eastern this Sunday. This is an event to raise awareness on sexual assault and domestic violence. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and Shakina, along with Bob, will be a couple of the speakers that we have there to share. So if you would like to come and hear her and be able to take part and learn more of her resources, you are absolutely welcome, Love Bay, to come out and attend on Saturday. I'm sorry, Sunday. You must have something else that's going to be up on a Saturday.
You'll be there very early Saturday.
Bob, do you have a question or a comment for Shakina?
I want to go back. We talked about, obviously, people are very not very familiar, but people see or they hear about the physical violence. Well, most people are familiar with that. What I'd like to discuss a little bit is the concept of coercion and manipulation and violence in relationships. Because a lot of times, as you said, the people who have grown up in the scenario, they don't see it that way. This is the way it's supposed to be. And, as we know, there's that power imbalance and that ability to manipulate everything from what they wear, how they look, to their finances. And I think teaching getting the message, the physical, the hit, I think that's an easier message to get through than the manipulation, ladies. What's your opinion on that? I think the manipulation part of it's the hardest part to make people grasp.
So like I'm sorry. So like Minister Tia mentioned earlier, self-esteem. And like I always mention when I'm speaking or I'm interacting regarding the topic of domestic violence, our self-esteem is our emotional and psychological immune system. We spend a lot of money on building the physical body, nurturing the physical body, treating the physical body, healing the physical body. And of course, mind, body, and spirit is connected. But what we leave out a lot is our self-esteem. And it's just as important as any organ in our body. So when a person's self-esteem is injured, and how a person's self-esteem can be injured, like I mentioned, they could be sexually abused, which is the same as being sexually assaulted. They could have experienced and witnessed something traumatic happening within their home, within their community, poverty, culture. All of these things affect a person's and impact a person's self-esteem. When we learn how to properly treat the self-esteem. And it's not, it has nothing to do with having nice clothes. Okay, like, it has nothing to do with having a nice car or a nice home. Self-esteem has everything to do with how you identify yourself. Who do you see yourself as when you look in the mirror? That is the question that you should ask a person when you ask them their age. How old are you? And then you ask them, who are you? And you got to think, when you ask a person, who are you? They can never give you a direct answer.
Mhm.
I mean, 9 times out of 10, you ask a person who they are, they can answer you directly. Is that normal? That is not normal. That is a problem. Because if a person cannot define who they are, then anybody in the world can tell them who they are. And when you can tell a person who they are, then you can manipulate and control them.
Mhm.
And that's something that you have to, it's just like arithmetic, you have to break it down just like math. Know who you are. The television should not be able to tell you who you are. The music you listen to should not be able to tell you who you are. You know, you should be able to look in the mirror and tell yourself who you are. You should be able to know that. If you don't know that, then that's the deficiency.
I agree.
Yeah.
May I interject for just with what you just said?
Mhm.
There, again, Reverend Tia knows I do a fair amount of work with the indigenous population in our country, the MMIW issue, and in that their realm of spirituality, there is a place for silence.
Mhm.
There is a place for sitting down and figuring out who you are, and it's very important. And they're working very, very hard to bring that back to the forefront because for so long it was reversed with colonial issues of, oh, you got to do this, you got to be that, you got to have the house, you got to have a pink house, you got to do this. And I agree with you. I'm not. This is by no stretch of the imagination a cut on our pardon me, our social media and our modern conveniences.
Mhm.
But I think at one point, every single one of us, starting at age 1 day and all the way up, we need to pull back and have that moment of silence
Mhm.
to figure out what's going on in here, because you can't share yourself if you don't know who you are.
Absolutely.
You cannot.
No, you cannot.
Absolutely. No,
And
I agree. I just think it's just I think it all goes back to love yourself.
Mhm.
Self-love. You have to know who you are.
Mhm.
You have to accept who you are. You have to be happy with who you are. And
Mhm.
if there is something that you want to change, then you do it. There you do not stand in front of a mirror and just ridicule yourself. I'm
Mhm.
overweight, I'm underweight, no, if there's something you see that you would like to change, then you change it.
Mhm.
But while you're changing it, you still need to love you. You
Mhm.
still need to appreciate you. And
Mhm.
so your original point, I do agree that the psychological, the mental and emotional part of
Mhm.
abuse is huge,
Mhm.
because we look for blood, we look for broken bones, we look for weapons, we look for that. But the psychological part is so much more damaging and deeper on a lot of levels. And I do believe, Shakina, as you were saying, with the self-esteem,
Mhm.
the low self-esteem, you do have to look within yourself, because something in you is allowing this situation to continue for whatever it is, and I can use myself, as an example. People would ask me, I was with my ex-husband for 19 years before I left him. And
Mhm.
people would ask me, why did you stay for so long? And, why didn't you leave? He was not, when we first got together, he was not immediately abusive. Abuse didn't happen until years into our marriage. And I
Mhm.
often said, when we first met, if he had just hit me, it would have been over. It didn't happen like that. it was insidious. It happened over time. It was words. It were that, you know, there were deeds. There were it was the mental part, the emotional part. Until one day I woke up and I was like, how did I get into this? It wasn't him hitting me every day. It
Right.
wasn't like that.
But see, like, if I can interject, it was always there. The I don't know. I'm trying to think. So it's kind of like baking a cake. You can't bake a cake without certain ingredients and stuff like that. You had the ingredients, you know, he had some of the ingredients and stuff like that. And when you two got together, you guys created a cake. Because there's always signs.
And today, I can look back and see those signs. I couldn't, when I was 18 years old, I didn't see it. When I was 8, we met when we were 18 years old and we got married at 20. What I saw at 18, what we were dealing with and what was happening, all of that was normal for both of us because it's what we saw, what we grew up in, and what was happening. So today, in my maturity and in my healed state, I can look back and I can see what were red flags. And what is a red flag to me today, what I understand in that moment, in that time, the only thing that would have said, I'm not going down this path with this person, is if he had physically hurt me in a way that I mean, was just horrible.
And you know what else, where we get away from? We had, like I said, we have to incorporate these things back into our classrooms. We have to really teach our children, our youth, how to stay intact with their gut, with their instincts. Your instincts, you have to rely on your instincts, just like you rely on your 2 feet, just like you rely on your legs. You know what I mean? You have to pay attention to your instincts. And we've gotten so far away from trusting our gut, you know, and it's because we want to be accepted, we want to be loved, you know, we want attention. I mean, sad to say, like, I mean, that's human nature. You know what I mean? Like, we thrive off of communicating with each other, you know, touching each other, hugging each other. Like, you seen how the world acted when we had the pandemic and we had to, you know, have social distance. Like, I mean, the world went crazy. So we got to understand that those things are actual. They're literal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're not just a facade. It's not just an illusion. To want to be touched, to want attention. And not only that, when you experience trauma, that's just like, okay, you get cancer. I'm gonna say, for an example, you know, you have a cancerous cell or whatever. And you get chemotherapy. But from that point on, you know that you have to eat healthy. You know what I mean? Like, you have to, you know, nourish your body and nurse your body back to where it's like it will not feed any other cancer cells, right? So when trauma happens, and as for me, when I was touched, one touch the wrong way, to really change the trajectory of a person's thought patterns, their, you know, it can really change everything about them. And like you said, because we can't see it, we don't think that it exists, that it has an actual effect. You know, so we ignore it. You know, like when I was being sexually abused, I didn't have any bruises. You know, there wasn't anything physically wrong with me. But when I would have tantrums, or when I would just go into a state of depression and all of that stuff, those are symptoms.
Yes.
You know, and mental health, we have to really invest in mental health, because mental health is the reason why this country is in the state that it's in. You know what I mean? Like, mental health. And it's an injury. when your emotions are impacted, okay, it causes injury.
Mhm.
And those injuries leave lasting effects.
Mhm.
And if you're not treated, and if you're not educated on them, if you don't know how to recognize and identify the signs, then they'll go into it and it'll turn into something worse. Like okay, you might end up in an abusive relationship. You might be in find yourself attracted to a sadist, someone who likes to inflict pain on someone because that's what the injury left you with.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
I mean, we have
Yeah.
to pay attention to people's emotional and psychological health.
Yes. So, as you, Bob, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to affirm what Shakira just said, that when I'm teaching, especially when I'm training investigators or people that are going to work in the Title IX field,
Mhm.
the analogy I use is pretty much what you just said, that trauma is an injury, and trauma, like a cut to your arm, leaves a scar. You can't see that scar,
Mhm.
but that scar is there, and it's always going to be there. Now, with time, it may, like the scar on your arm, it may lighten up,
Mhm.
but it's always there. And like that scar on your arm, it's susceptible to coming or to injury quicker than other people. And people don't it's hard for people to grasp that.
It is.
But it's a reality. And, people that do what we do, we see it all the time. So, and I think, as you say, getting back to our schools, teaching this at Lush, so people understand that. I mean,
Mhm.
it's addressing that is part of the steps in the healing process. It
Absolutely.
is. It's part of the steps.
It can no longer be ignored. We're going to continuously lose lives. Um, families are going to continuously be torn apart, which is going to, I mean, if we can't keep the family unit together and healthy, we can't keep society together and healthy. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? We have to learn how to protect and treat the family unit. And incarceration is not always the case. People really need to be mentally treated. And I know some people might disagree, but domestic violence is a part of mental illness because
Oh,
Absolutely. It is.
no one.
I'm gonna
Go ahead.
I'm gonna shock people because I'm a retired law enforcement officer, and what you said is absolutely correct. Incarceration is not necessarily the best answer all the time. It isn't.
Mhm.
It's the truth, because again, it doesn't do you any good to put somebody away and not treat the problem.
Exactly.
All you're doing is fueling the anger. You're fueling the fire that's there.
Mhm.
It's suppressing it. I mean,
Mhm.
you're just suppressing it, but eventually it's going to rise up. If it's triggered,
Mhm.
if if it's triggered,
Mhm.
and you got to think of the mass shootings. Um, they come from a trigger, and it's mental illness can no longer be ignored because nobody in their right mind, and I'm speaking from experience, okay?
Mhm.
If I was in my right mind, I would have got up and ran away a long time ago. If I if I if I really had the notion that wait a minute, your life is really in danger, if my emotional senses, my psychological mind was not impacted and injured, I would have been able to defend myself. My defense mechanism was suppressed.
Mhm.
I could not defend myself in a healthy way, in a normal way. I lost I lost the ability.
Yes.
I
So,
lost the ability to defend myself.
That makes absolute perfect sense.
Mhm.
I think those on the outside looking in may not get it and may not understand it, but I think that is when we need to educate ourselves. That's when we need to make it a point to understand and not to judge. I think when we come together and try to come up with some solutions, it will bring some understanding along with it. But as we're just under the hour, but there are two more questions that I wanted to ask you. One, I wanted to ask you about the name of your organization, She Is You. I think it's beautiful. When I first saw it, it immediately resonated with me. Like I could see it, I understood it. It just it speaks volumes. So I wanted you to just tell our listeners, what that means to you, what that implies. She is you. And then I wanted to ask you if you could just share with us, some of your future plans, what you have coming up, for your organization.
Sure. So when I'm gonna say I am a believer. I don't have anything against anyone else and their beliefs and their religion, but I am a believer, and I have to mention God because that's just how much He means to me. But God, when God gave me the name, I was looking at a picture of myself, and this picture it was an older picture from the time when I was going through all of the stuff that I was going through when I was in my relationship. And I was looking at the picture and I didn't recognize myself. I mean, I I did, but I didn't because the person that I was holding the picture did not resemble the person in the picture. Like, I mean, the inner person.
Yes.
I recognize myself physically, but the inner person, I could see all of these things that was going on with her. And I kept looking at the picture and I was like, this is a completely this is a completely different person because the person that I am now, that I'm not that person.
Right.
I heard God say to me, she is you. And when I heard God say she is you, I was like, she is you. And I was like, that's me. Like, I was her. I was that broken, lost, confused. Like, just, I was just, I can't even explain. Like, but that's how I came up with the name. She is you. Because I was looking at a picture of myself and I couldn't recognize myself because I think I had a bruise too. I think I had a bruise on my face from a time we was fighting. And I was just like, this girl is me. And God said, you. That's you. And I said, wow, that's me. But not that was me. So I see other women, younger women. I see me. I see, so that's where it came from. And so right now what we're doing, like I said, we're starting a campaign to raise a scholarship for victims, families of victims and overcomers who have experienced domestic violence, sex abuse, or sexual assault. This past really quick. So we were nominated by DomesticShelters.org as Community Service Organization of the Year.
Congratulations. Very good.
Congratulations.
Very good.
We are a Purple Ribbons Award winner of 2023. This next holiday season, we're going to be doing another staycation holiday getaway. Which we did last year for one of our families. We secured an Airbnb. And we just gave them a Christmas of a lifetime. We had gifts and Santa and s'mores, and we had a private chef. So we're looking to have another family nominated, just to kind of share that time, together. You got some families that they're displaced, and
Yes.
and they're trying to heal. So a lot of times when you change your environment, you can change the mind of a person. You can kind of aid in their healing. So we're looking to do that this upcoming holiday season, and offer more programs. We have a program that we offer, which we call our bereavement program,
Mhm.
where we aid in funeral expenses for individuals who have lost their lives to domestic violence.
But thank you so much. I want to share for our listeners before we go for tonight information again for She Is You. And then I'm going to ask Bob and Shakina if you would just wrap us up for the night with the final thought that you would want to leave with our listeners. But Love Bay, She Is You, SHEIS, the letter U, Inc., INC. The address, and again, this is in the United States, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The physical address for She Is You, Inc. is 1500 Walnut Street, Suite 800, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19102. You can follow on Facebook at She Is You, INC, Instagram at She Is You, INC, Twitter at She Is You, INC. Email for information. You can email info@sheisyou.org. And again, the website is www.sheisu.org. And your YouTube channel
Mhm,
is She Is You. I
mhm.
don't have
Yes,
the okay, and also
sure.
YouTube, She Is You.
Yes.
So with that, Bob, if you would take the first shot and leave our listeners with a thought for this evening.
Sure, absolutely. My thought is this. I want to thank you, ma'am, for what you do. The name She Is You, when I first knew we were going to speak with you, it reminded me of my
Mhm.
mother. It made me think back. I mean, it's obviously, but and again, like I said, I thank you for what you do because I don't want another generation of young men or young women to have that reminder of what that was. And I can't thank you enough for that. It's very important.
Thank,
Thank you.
thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Minister Tia.
Mhm.
I'm so grateful to be able to join you guys and to share, She Is You with the world. And my final thought would be just, you're not alone. Um, don't ever be ashamed. And there is help. There is help. And we want you to live. We want you to survive. Don't think that it can't happen to you, because it can. Your life is more important. Living is important.
Yes. Thank you so much. Again, listeners, if you would like to see Shakina and learn more about She Is You, you can come out and visit us at the Philadelphia Marriott on City Line Avenue, Sunday, April 23rd at 3 o'clock. You can hear from her. You can hear from Bob. Again, Carolyn Wilson will be with us. So we do invite you to come out if you can make it for that. If you want to catch up on previous episodes from our program, you can visit our YouTube channel, Suffering in Silence DV. We thank you for joining Suffering in Silence with Minister Tia on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We're here with you every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. And Love Bay family, we are continuing to rise out of the ashes together. Have a good evening.
Good evening. Thank
Good
you.
night. Thank you.